I moved from Argentina to Denmark now over 12 years ago, and I can say without a doubt that I am a changed man. Because context is everything, and it's said that you are the average of the 5 people you hang out with most. And in Denmark, by extension, you could also say that you are the average of the 5 million people you share this country with. Today I want to go through how I changed myself specifically, and also shine a light on what's in store for expats moving into a city like Copenhagen. This video is also the second part of my series on how I changed. Make sure you check the first one out. There's gonna be linked down in the video description. Number 1 is humbleness. So I came to Denmark with my head up high, you could say. I had this personal brand type of mentality. I was like, I am amazing, look at me. I would widely boast my accomplishments, I would exaggerate my skills and all that type of stuff. This has completely flipped now. I still, let's say, have very high self-esteem, but I am a lot more humble. Too much even sometimes, some people say. In Denmark, the mentality or the culture in a way is that you are not better than anyone else. People who go around saying like, hey, look, I am so good, I have so much money, I have such a fancy job, are just not popular here, to say the least. And it's again all about context. You see it at the office. So for instance, workplaces in Denmark are a lot less hierarchical than places like USA or Dubai, or of course Argentina as well. And I have seen it in my job in Maersk firsthand, right? So we had a lot of the top executives who were incredibly down to earth when meeting with like normal guys like me. While my share of failures definitely humbled me out, I also think that living in Denmark and living for this long as well has definitely moved me in the more humbleness direction 100%. Number 2 is Christmas. So in Denmark I celebrate Christmas with a real tree and often with snow, like it's supposed to be. You see, in South America this is not really the case because the seasons aren't turned around. In South America, Christmas falls strictly on midsummer and not in the middle of winter. While it's still a big deal and it's still a big family holiday, you could say the Santas are sweating a lot because again we're in the middle of summer, the trees will be of plastic, and instead of playing in the snow, what you will likely be doing, you will be in the swimming pool with your family or with your friends. So in Denmark I got to experience the real deal, so the real Christmas, which again for me was a big deal. That's the walking Tivoli, like the huggy atmosphere all over the city. It's just beautiful and I always look forward to Christmas. And one more thing is that I didn't know about the famous Christmas parties, so the julefrokost, before moving to Denmark, and that they would be part of the Christmas package. By the last, they're a welcome addition and the Christmas parties are incredibly fun. Number 3 is no car. So I used to drive a lot at home. So it would be driving to school, driving to see friends, driving to see errands, and it's just the way it works in a big city like Buenos Aires, which to remember, it has like what, 14 million people. It's like a big place, and it can't be different for me in Copenhagen. So it took me 11 years to drive a car for the first time here in Denmark, literally. No joke, I literally just exchanged my license a couple of months ago and I had to do all the exams and so on. It was a big hassle, but I felt that it was about time to do it because I got kids. I was like, okay, maybe it's better to just have a Danish license as well. But in here, otherwise, I just bike everywhere, and even if it's far. So I just love biking. I find it fast, I find it practical. You don't need to park, there are no monthly expenses with having a bike. You work out while you transport yourself. The bike lanes are great, and even in winter and if it's raining, I would say go biking. And by the way, if you're enjoying this video, you should subscribe to the channel. I'll post videos like this every single week. Next up is politics. So I am a lot less involved or interested in politics since I have moved to Denmark. I'm of course especially in the loop if there's something going on that is important, and now also as I'm a citizen I feel there's more skin in the game for me. But for me, everything regarding politics is a lot less serious than it would be if I would be back in Argentina. Look, in Denmark you have political stability and a respected government, whomever is in power. So everything will work, and while new governments might have different ideas for specific points, overall the discussion points are, you could say, minor and not a whole new blueprint on how to run the country, which is what you see in a lot of more developed countries, you could say. We'll still have, of course, some scandals. I mean, look at all these mink things going on here, and then also I will disagree with some points strongly perhaps, as is for example this raising of the capital gains tax. But overall, as a whole, politics doesn't really change much here in Denmark versus other places like Argentina. So it's definitely something that I need to spend a lot of less time and less energy on. Outdoors. So I now spend a lot more time outdoors in Denmark here in Copenhagen, living in Copenhagen, than I would do back in Argentina. And this is kind of counterintuitive considering the natural beauty of a place like Argentina and Denmark's terrible weather. So I think it goes two ways. First, I just don't take the outdoors for granted anymore. So when it's a nice day here, I just go out, even if I don't feel like it. You never know again when it's gonna be a nice weather again. So when it's gonna be sunny, when it's gonna be cold. I mean, I'm filming this in the middle of June and it has been raining and it's 14 degrees. I need to wear a sweater and jacket. I mean, you just really can't take anything for granted. And in Argentina, honestly, as I said multiple times, weather has never been an issue. And the second point is that at least in Copenhagen, which is the place I'm living, right? So you have a huge number of beautiful parks all over the city. So we're talking about the Frederiksberg Park, which is stunning, the King's Garden, Fælledparken, even just here we have Amagerfället, which is again super nice wilderness area, and Tivoli, if you want to include that as a park. So it's just very, very green city, and it's just nice to walk around. You don't need to have a car to go to any of these places. You can just, bike or walk around. And while you have a lot of beautiful parks in Buenos Aires and plenty of green, it's just not as, let's say, close as you have it here. Next is travel. And if I could point to the number one reason I decided to move out from Argentina and come to Europe was Argentina's location, right? So I love traveling, and I have been now to over 135 different countries. Traveling is a big part of my life, and it would have been impossible to travel as much as I did from Denmark and from Europe as if I would have stayed longer in Argentina. Because turns out Argentina is just very far from almost everything. So we're talking about 14 hours to London, 10 hours to New York, 18 hours to Dubai, and that's all non-stop flights, right? You can't even fly to East Asia on a direct flight. It's just impossible. This flipped completely for me when I moved to Denmark. So in Denmark, you're a direct flight away from almost every place in the world except Australia and New Zealand. Salaries are good, so you can buy tickets and you can spend a lot of money traveling, as I did many years. And then you have 30 plus days of holidays, so there's ample time to go and explore the world. So again, something that I was so passionate about, this became a lot more possible when I moved to Europe and to Denmark specifically. Close friendships. So in 12 years in Denmark, I have made very few, you could say, real close friendships. And even though I have good friends here, the relationships I have built in Denmark are definitely not as close as they would be if I would be making these relationships back home in Argentina. Like my wife aside, which we met here, right? But I think this would come in two parts as well. So the first one is that even though I have made many really good friends here in Denmark, and very close friendships, a lot of these friends have left the country as well. Either after they were done with their studies, or they found a job in a different country, or they wanted to just go somewhere more sunny. So that's just part of hanging out in these expat circles and expat communities. It's very normal, and of course, it was my choice to invest time and resources and energy in those friendships instead of making very friendships with people that wanted to stay more here, right? But something to keep in mind. But the second point is just that it's a lot harder, or let's say a lot more work, to make deeper friendships in Denmark than is in other places. And don't get me wrong, it's not that it's impossible. Again, I have many good friends here as well. But I would think that given my experience living in different countries, the whole setup here in Northern Europe is a lot less conducive to making good and deeper friendships that is in Latin America. Again, not that you can't. I mean, I haven't, again, made many good friendships, but you just need to put a lot more effort. And then a few more ways I have changed here in Denmark. I have embraced the hygge mentality, so I now burn candles in winter, get a lot of wood inside the house, I have a lot of blankets, and I drink plenty of hot drinks in winter. I also became open to and then got kids. Just a lot less of a commitment, you could say, for a lack of a better word, to have kids in Denmark, because it's not expensive, the world culture is very supportive, and you just don't need to worry about things like safety. And then, just to add something random into all this, right, I started eating a lot more fruit here. So for whatever reason, I had not tried in Argentina blueberries, blackberries, apricots, and a lot more. Basically, until I moved to Denmark, I didn't even know how you could say blueberries or apricots in Spanish. I still don't even know how you say apricot in Spanish. Just to put your video in perspective, while Spanish being my native language, right? And last, believe it or not, I became more, you could say, okay paying the Danish high taxes. I don't like it, mine, so let's get that clear out of the way. But I went from just absolutely hating the Danish income taxes and the whole taxes situation to understanding the benefits in terms of, let's say, social harmony you get in a country with low levels of inequality, especially when the whole world seems to be up in flames over the last few years, right? So, of course, this will not apply to the capital gains tax, which I think is still insane, but then let's say at least I'm not as concerned when I have half of my salary going straight into scat. If you made it this far and enjoyed this video, you'll love this one over here as well. It's one of my most popular on life in Denmark. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you again next week.